So we're back with another deck profile. It's James from Team Eternal Hope, and I am doing my updated post-revival collection in GBT09 Aqua Force deck profile for you guys. So to get straight into it, we're going to start with the deck profile, and while I'm doing it, this is probably going to be quite a long video. I'm going to sort of go over why I've chosen certain things, and also the other options that you guys may consider, or that I may even consider changing my build with. The deck has a few things it can change and a bit of adaptability. However, the build I currently have, I feel, is probably the preferred option, or the build that I'd go with. So to start with, same starter as always, Bubble Edge Draco Kid. There are two other options really that you can play. This one is basically move him into Soul, select a rearguard, an Aqua Force rearguard, and it gains when this unit attacks a Vanguard. If it's the 4th attack of that battle or more, you may draw a card. So it's very good with early game because you don't need GB or anything because it's BT13. He's also got Forerunner, and basically you go Tidal Assault on rearguard, Tidal Assault on rearguard, move him into Soul, and then you give one of the Tidals the effect. Swing with the first Tidal twice or once, restand it, and then swing with the Vanguard, swing with the first Tidal again if you need to, and then you're on your 4th battle or more, and then you get 2 draw cards from it, and you get some really good early game rush out of it as well, providing they don't get a defensive trigger, which happens a lot anyway, but I do that play more for the draw power. So you get an instant draw 2 cards, which is really nice because you're essentially replacing the cards you've just used to rush with. It's got no real cost to it as well, so it's free, and it's really effective. Can be used late game, mid game, early game, whenever you can use him really. Just really nice just to get that +2 to hand, and yeah, it's really good. The options you can play are Officer Cadet Andre and Kelpie Rider Mitros. Out of the other two options, I prefer Mitros personally. What this does is when this unit put it into Soul, when your Vanguard attacks, if it's when it's grade 3 or greater with Thavas in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 Thavas in its card with Thavas in its card name, put it onto your rear guard, and at the end of the turn put it back, put that into your hand. So basically it gets you a free grade 3. Can't really search out your grade 3 because you have to be on a Thavas, unless they give us a Thavas grade 2 next year, because we won't get support now till December probably. But yeah, it's quite nice, and it gets you an extra attack. However, again, I feel you get more out of Bubble Edge than Mitros, and you don't need the whole Thavas name stuff. And then you've got Andre, which is basically Counterblast 1, move this into Soul, and you give it after this unit attacked a Vanguard, at the end of the battle attacked a Vanguard, restand it with +2. He's really nice. Quite a lot of people do use Andre. However, you have enough grade 2s that restand already for either and cheaper cost, and the things this does work with, it works well with Melania, but then you're using a CB3 to get 2 cards, which I can do for free off of this, or for it's just kind of like it adds pressure, and it's quite nice to like rush with and be aggressive on your first stride, but I don't feel the deck needs it, so I don't run it. But they are options you can use. However, I do prefer Bubble Edge Draco Kid. So we'll go for the triggers. So we have 4 Kelpie Rider Petros as crits. What he does is your Thavas crit trigger, the double rare standard, nice in SP as well. When you attack with a Thavas in its name, move this unit into Soul, give that unit the Vanguard +5k, and you draw a card when the Vanguard attacks. So yeah, it's quite nice, gets you a bit of Soul, gives you a bit of power, and you draw a card off of it. Sometimes you call it a rearguard just to get the wave, so you attack with it just randomly, doesn't really matter if it hits. And then you can swing with your Vanguard, move this into Soul, and then you get your wave 3 Melania. Melania is quite key to this deck, I find. So yeah, it works that way as well, it's quite nice. Next we have 4 Supersonic Sailor. This card is actually coming in a lot more use now that we have the new support than what it did prior to GBT09. This is mostly due to the fact that the deck has become a little bit more counterblast heavy. Just trying to solve the glare that we're having. Yeah, that's better. So basically what Supersonic Sailor does is you can move him into Soul on rearguard, and you unflip a damage. So it's been quite useful because I have been using a Soul and Counterblast a fair bit, just to call this and get them flips, so then you can go off on a Wailing Thavas turn or something. So yeah, he has become a little bit more relevant, which is nice to see. So the new addition to the deck is, what's his actual name? Dolphin Soldier of the Leaping Windy Seas. Alright, that's a bit weird. So he's the new stand trigger we got in GBT09. I think he's really good. Basically what he does is wave first or second time only, so your first or second battle of the turn, you may Soul Blast 1. When it attacks a Vanguard, you can have this unit gain 7k, and at the end of the battle you return it to the bottom of your deck and you draw a card. So basically he gets you the draw that a draw trigger would get you anyway. He's also a 10k shield, and he can attack as a trigger and hit the Vanguard, which I think is something in this deck is very important, because being able to hit wave even if you're against control decks where you have no resources is very key, and then being able to actually pressure with a Vanguard off a trigger is really nice. Something that I like to do is call triggers if I am running short on units to call, just to get the wave free for whaling or the third or fourth attack or whatever I need for any of my other units. So sometimes I do need triggers, so this actually gives me a viable option to then do that, and I get a draw card as well, which just helps with the hand size. This deck does draw quite a lot, which I find is very helpful from the defensive side of the game, which is kind of key at the moment. The other option you could use is the draw trigger, which is Battle Siren Malika. What she does is you can move her into Soul and give a unit plus 3k. She is quite nice. She does help with your tidal combos, because you can make tidal hit for a 12 on the first attack and then boost it for 7, and give it a booster, and it's 7k on its own. So yeah, she's not too bad as well. She fills the soul. However, I feel the Dolphin does a lot more for the deck at the moment than what she does. So the last trigger we play in the deck is just 4 heal trigger. Doesn't really matter what heal trigger you play. She's just useful because you need heals for G guarding. And we did get a new G guard. I'll explain that later though. So that's the triggers. So we go 8 crit, 4 stand, and 4 heal. Next we have the grade 1s. So to start with, we have 4 perfect guard and flippers. Like I said earlier, we have become a little bit cost heavy on the CB, not to the extent where we're desperate, but to the extent where this guy's needed, and he does help a lot. So he can't guard rear guard attacks. However, I don't think that's really that important anymore, because Dismal normally gets around the problem. Yeah, you still use your rear guard, but you're not feeling the cost of the effect, because the X wouldn't be able to restand, and I don't think Laurel works either. So your old PGs don't really work that well anymore anyway, other than if you want to keep the rear guard alive, and in this deck I normally have enough replacements to not worry about having to do that. So yeah, that's basically that option. You can run the normal PGs, I just think that you might as well run the PGGs. So next we have 4 Kelpie Rider Niku, ENSP as well, very nice. So he's just your stride fodder, very key to this deck, because you want to stride every turn essentially. As soon as you hit grade 3 you want to be striding, so it adds to the consistency of doing that, and it does search out a Thavas if you ever do need it, by discarding any card from hand and revealing a Skyros or something, or deck thinning, whatever. But he is mostly in here just for striding, and striding is so key at the moment in this deck that you need to run 4 just to get the consistency from it. That, and he's an SP, so you might as well run 4, right? If you guys haven't seen any of my videos before, I am a little bit SP crazy. So next we have 4 Battle Siren Melania, sorry. She is arguably one of the most important units in this deck, alongside Tidal Assault. She has become so important in the deck, it's really scary. So what she has is she has resist, so she can't be retired or locked or anything, or what's it's called, Mega Colonies thing, stun, which is really nice. So you basically get to keep her on the field, so you don't mind playing her aggressively, instead of conserving her like you normally do with Tidals and other things against like Kagera and Link Joker. And her ability is wave 3rd time or more, you can counterblast 1 when this unit attacks a Vanguard. She gains 5k and you draw a card. So she adds to you drawing cards, which is really nice in the defensive side of the game. She gains power, so she's 12k on her own. And she works really well with Commander Thavas on the first stride, because you put her in the back row, you give her the 5k attack from back row skill, you call a Tidal, you can call anything really, like even the stand trigger. You could essentially what you could do is you could go stand trigger Tidal and use your starter skill, give Tidal the effect, The stand trigger will attack for 11, you'll draw off that, Commander will attack, then you'll go Melania, draw off her, and she'll be 17k, and then you'll swing twice with Tidal Assault, drawing another 2 cards, so you've essentially gained 7 cards that turn, which is crazy amount really. So yeah, she's really nice, and she can't be killed, which is so essential, and she can attack on the front row on her own as well, just to help hit that wave attack number if you need it. So she does a lot to help with the deck. And finally, we run 2 Battle Siren Stacia. Now what she does is she can attack from the back row, and she gains 3k on GB1, is essentially what she does. Really good with your Lambros turn, and again she can help with hitting your wave numbers, or just to build up Wailing Thavas even more, because you can just call it behind the Vanguard and just attack from 9k on rear guards or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It just has to attack from the back row, just to gain power. Yeah, in fact, I think it's just when it attacks. Oh no, it went from the back row, yeah. So she's 9k from the back row, so she can snipe rear guards. She builds up the attack count, helps you out with wave and stuff, so she's quite nice. Her only real importance though, like her main importance, is for Lambros turns, so you can go Tidal, Adelaide on rear guard. So both of them swing at rear guards if they have 2, then she can swing from the back row, and then Lambros can restand Tidal and Adelaide or whatever, for you to then get 4 extra attacks off with the plus 10ks. So she's quite nice in that regard as well. Other options, you could run the Seagull, which is the Soul Blast, to give plus 3k and then return to hand. He's alright. I've seen a few people do it. I think you play him more in the aggressive builds rather than you would in the way I play the deck. But yeah, it could be quite nice. So we move on to grade 2s, and we have 4 Tidal Assault. Need I say any more? Nice new hollow shiny ones, which is really cool. So basically, once per turn when he attacks a Vanguard, you may restand him with minus 5k. You must do it on the first time you attack the Vanguard. However, if you attack a rear guard then restand him, you can still attack the Vanguard and then gain the minus 5 and then attack again. He's early, you can use him again with Bubble Edge, works really well. If you call 2 on the rear guards, stack up the attacks. He just helps you set off wave, helps you to get to Lambroses, helps you get Wailing Thavas off. I mean, just one of this guy can set off a Wailing Thavas turn, because you just swing with him twice and then you're 1 wave free, and then you can swing with Wailing. And he doesn't cost anything, so you don't have to worry about your Counter Blast or your Soul Blast or what you're doing cost wise. So yeah, he's just really essential to the deck, and it's nice that we get him in hollow. So next we have 4 Battle Siren Adelaide. Again, I find her really good, and she's now consistent with the new Wailing Thavas stride, because you now have 5 stride turns, well, depending on how many you run, 4 to 5 stride turns of getting her off, even if you're on Skyros or Angerboil or whatever else grade 3 you're playing. So what she does is Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. When you call her to rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Thavas in its name, she gains 2k, and at the end of the battle she attacked a Vanguard, you can stand this unit. So basically she can swing 11 twice at a Vanguard, which is really nice again on their own, because your opponents have to drop 5k guards or hope to get a defensive trigger on the first swing, which just forces more out of your opponent's hand. Again, it helps you get to your wave attack counts, which is the main thing in this deck. So yeah, she's quite nice. And yeah, the reason why I run her at 4 is she doesn't need a boost or anything like that, whereas Magnum does, which is the reason I don't play Magnum anywhere near the amount I play her. Next, I'm actually trying something out new. I am running 2 Couple Dagger Sailor. I find she's actually quite nice. So on the first attack of your turn, you can attack with her and she'll gain 2k. And then for a Counter Blast of 1, she gains 2k, and then you may switch her with any unit in your column. So if you call her to the front row and have Tidal in the back row, you swing with her, she gains 11k, and then she switches out, and you can swing twice with Tidal, which works exceptionally well with Wailing Thavas turns, because you just beef them up, you can retire more units, and then essentially you get a Lambros turn out of that as well, because you've already attacked 4 times. Not that you'd want to restand both, because she can attack again, but it does help you with your attack count, and it's quite nice offensively, because say if I called her and him and then Adelaide, it's a Counter Blast 2, Soul Blast 1, yes, and I'm attacking for 11, switch 11 and restand 11 before triggers or anything else. And again, I'm on wave 4 now. Well, I've done 3 attacks, so yeah, basically my next attack is wave 4. So she combos really well with things, is the main reason I run her. I have been trying her out, and she also works with Melania again, because you can have Melania in the back row behind her. You swing with her first battle, and then you can have, say, the stand trigger on the other side, and then swing with the stand trigger because it's second or first. And then you switch, and obviously you switch with her, and then you swing with Melania for 12k, so you're just hitting for 5ks constantly all over the board, which is quite nice and kind of cool. However, this does mean I have taken out my Magnum Assaults. This is the other option you could run. Basically what he does is when he's boosting and he attacks a Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1 and restand him with plus 2k. He is quite good. I used to run him, and I may put him back in eventually. However, the fact that you need a booster means that you can't really get as much offensively out, because then you're having to boost with your Melania or your Stacia or your Stride fodder. Whereas all these other rear guards that I've been playing around, like I've been showing you, don't need a booster, so you don't really boost in this deck. Melania does boost occasionally. When you're not on Command Thavas, she does become a booster normally. But if you can get her a Melania attack off after you've attacked with this, you're essentially doing the same amount of attacks with Melania, yes, but then she combos off to get more attacks out of it, and you're drawing a card as well off Melania instead of just swinging 16 and then swinging 11. So I find it's quite nice, and I'm going to work around with it because I believe Couple Dagger can combo a lot more with the deck than previously. I mean, again, and she's no GB restricted, so I can do her early game, and she can maybe even enable Double Edge Draco Kid. I haven't really gotten that far with testing, so it's early game rush if I need it, whereas Magnum is restricted. So yeah, she is kind of nice. It will be a case of seeing how she goes, but it's interesting running her. And then finally for grade 2s, I run 2 Aqua Force Thavas still. I was considering taking her out, but I find that when I don't use her too often, but when I do, it's normally quite important to get the extra 2 cards in hand. That, and I don't mind playing her against control decks because she dies at the end of the battle she attacks, because what she does is wave 4th turn or more, I believe it is, or at the end of the battle this unit attacks if it's the 4th battle of that turn or more. You basically draw 2 cards, so you sacrifice her to get 2 cards in hand for your defensive turn. She's quite weak anyway, so you don't mind using her, like losing her, and she gets you 2 cards in hand again. The defensive capabilities of this deck is really strong because of the amount of draw I play. I can sometimes have 10, 12 plus in hand, which is really nice when guarding. So yeah, she's quite nice and key into the deck. So finally we've got the grade 3s. So my backup grade 3, I run 3 Jockey of the Great Seas Skyros. With the recent introduction of Wailing Thavas, I find that the name of Thavas is really easy to have now with my strides. So riding him, like misriding him, isn't the end of the world now. And his other ability does help me to get a Thavas if I need it, because basically I select a unit, doesn't matter what, and on the wave 3rd time or more of that turn, I look at the top 5 and search for a grade 3, add it to hand. So if I've already called a title, grade 2 game, or grade 3 game even, I ride this, and then I can select the title and I get 2 grade 3 searches out of it. Which combos quite nicely with the draw trigger, because if it's the wave 4th of that, the 4th or more, I get to search for a grade 3 and draw a card, which is really nice. And then the other effect, which is the main reason I play Skyros, is his GB1 effect. So GB1, all of your units in the front row gain resist. This is really important against certain matchups, not so much as it used to be, because Wailing Thavas doesn't really care now, because Kagero is scary, especially defensively, but if I'm losing my guy, so long as I get to wave 3, I still get quite a nice powerful turn out of it, whereas before Lambros could almost essentially be shut down completely by their Denial Griffins or whatever. He is also nice against Link Joker because it stops them from locking stuff, and if I have Melanias in the back row, you essentially can't lock anything unless you have like a global lock, such as Tentacle Messiah or whatever his name is, Tentratulus or Tentratula or whatever his name is. Can get away with it because it doesn't target, so anything that doesn't target does get around resist. However, being able to have a full field of resist means that your opponent against Kagero, they essentially can't do anything other than if they're playing Overlord, restand stuff, or they have Ace or whatever. That's the only thing they could really do. They can't play Titan is essentially non-effective because you can't retire anything, so you can't get the Blaze effect, so it just shuts down Titan completely. It shuts down all their retire on their turn, so essentially you're shutting down their entire deck. Same with Link Joker, they can't lock anything, so they can't stall you out, and their only option is to eventually go into lock your entire board and unlock anything that is locked. play, and that's it. So they're offensively, they're not really doing anything, they're just slowing you down for a turn. So he is really essential. There are a couple of other options you can run. You can play the Angerboil version of the deck, which is my other deck profile, or you can play this guy. He's the new wave dude. However, he does sort of clash with Lambros, because you have to attack the third time with your Vanguard to restand him. So basically what he is a Counterblast 1 when your Vanguard attacks, if it's the third battle of that turn, restand this unit and he gains plus 2k. So you have to attack with him before that, so in the first or second attack essentially, and then you restand it. So he's not, I don't think he's that great. He does get you extra attacks, don't get me wrong, and he can be quite nice with Wailing, because obviously you've hit your wave 3, but then your Wailing Thavas is only 10k more retire 2, retire a third if you have a Thavas Soul. So I find Skyrush just does a lot more for your bad matchups. This deck does play around a lot with bad matchups. It is built to deal with your bad matchups, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's weaker now against its better matchups. It's still very strong against them. And finally, the reason why it's called a Thavas deck, I run for one who surpasses the storm, Thavas. He is quite good. His GB2 skill is basically Silent Tom, so on the 4th battle of the turn or more, when he attacks a Vanguard, he gains a crit and your opponent can't call grade 0s to guard. So it's not too bad, but he's quite weak. He doesn't get any 5k or anything, so it's quite easy just to drop a perfect guard or something, and yeah, it's not really that big a deal. Or G-Guard even. G-Guard would completely shut it down. So that's kind of weakened his GB2 skill a little bit. It's not too bad though. And then finally his on stride skill is your Vanguard gains the following effect. When your unit attacks a Vanguard, if it's the 4th battle of that turn, you select up to 3 units your opponent has. You have to select 3 if you can, but if they only have 2 or 1, you can just select the 2 or the 1. And out of the 3 units or whatever amount of units you end up being able to pick, your opponent retires one of those units. So it adds a little bit of control element to it. It's less important now because of Wailing Thavas, but with Wailing Thavas, if I get to like 4 attacks with my rear guards and then swing with Railing, I basically retire all 5 units anyway without having to use 5 battles before my Wailing Thavas to board wipe. And early game with Commander Thavas, it stacks. If you're on GB3 with Commander Thavas, you're essentially retiring 2. It just gives your opponent a little negs here and there. It doesn't really do too much, but it's free. And anything free doesn't really that doesn't affect you is quite nice, so can't complain really about that. So yeah, he's nice. I do like him. You mainly use him for his name because it is a Thavas deck and your cards do need Thavas. However, yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's nice. I quite like it. People moan that he's not that great, but I quite like him. So we're going to move on to the strides of the G zone. So we're going to go through our G guards first. So I play 2 Ice Barrier Dragon, the new G guard from GBT09. Basically what he does is 1st battle of that turn or 4th battle of that turn or more that you're guarding, this unit gains plus 10k. That's it. Just literally if they're attacking on their 1st battle or 4th attack or more, you get 25k shield out of this. So it's nice, it's quite free. It is easy to play around, which is the only problem with Aqua Force G guards, because it is attack restricted. So if they attack at the 2nd or the 3rd turn, they basically get around your plus 10, so it's only a 15. However, that is why I still run 1 Screw You in the deck. And basically he is discard a card from your hand when you call this unit to G guard. He gains 10k regardless of the attack. So he is there literally to cover the 2 attack numbers that this guy can't guard. So if they attack 2nd turn or 2nd attack or 3rd attack and I need to guard it and I need that extra 10k, Screw You can come in and save my butt really. So yeah, it's quite nice. The new G guards are alright. XP looks really nice, but they are a little bit easy to play around. But if they are attacking you first, or they only can attack you with a Vanguard that turn, or they have like a really big rearguard combo where the Vanguard attacks later on, or a big powerful attacks later on, it is helpful anyway, and it's free, so you can't really moan too much. It does kind of suck that it wasn't like 3rd turn or more, and then we could have had the other G-Guard come in, which I do have spare here. Floatier, which is basically 1st or 2nd turn, he gains 5k, so he's a 20k shield. Some people still run 1 of just for that 2nd attack. However, I don't see the point because you might as well play a Screw You and cover the larger numbers anyway. And finally, I played one Dismal. Dismal is coming back a lot stronger now, especially with the return of Narukami with VMAX. Basically, he gives the guy that's being attacked resist. However, they can't be hit by attacks or by card effects. So basically, this means that any attack that's attacking your rear guard disappears, so they don't hit it. So it works really well against the X at the end. I don't know, Laurel, things that need to hit to restand and stuff like that. Or if you need to keep it alive even when they're attacking your rear guard, it works quite well. VMAX especially, if you don't want to end up with the extra damage effect, which is really annoying. This guy can protect one of your dudes, doesn't really matter what, but you can just select one of you guys and it stays on the board, so your opponent essentially doesn't gain the free damage effect because they can't now retire it, or they can't hit it. So yeah, he is really nice in this deck, and he does help against some of the bad matchups and some of the different types of games you're going to come into. This is one of the things I like about the deck. It does sort of cover almost every matchup you could face, so you have a sort of a game plan for every matchup, which is really nice. So yeah, they're the G Gods. And now we're going to go into the Stride Zone. To start with, I do run a Surprise. What he does is Counterblast 2, choose a card from your hand and discard it. You may stride it. If your opponent did not ride a unit and is on grade 2 their previous turn, you may stride this unit, and that is it. He's okay, he's in there just in case my opponent decides to try and play the grade 2 game or anything. I mean, we don't have a weak rush. We can rush decks back, just not as well, and it does shut down our deck if they do decide to rush us pretty well, because we can only use Tidals and Sailflow Sailors now. So he is quite nice to have in there just as a precaution, and there isn't really anything else I would play in here because everything else in my G zone covers what I'd want to do, and the other options aren't necessarily needed. So we then have my new boy, Wailing Thavas, or Storm of Lament, or Wailing Thavas. Basically what he does is his first effect is when this unit attacks, for every attack that your rear guards battled, for every battle that your rear guards took part in this turn, this unit, your opponent selects one unit on their field and retires it. So if it's a GB3 skill, by the way, so basically if you've attacked 4 times that turn, your opponent selects 4 units and they die. If you've attacked 5 turns, they use everything. If you've attacked 3, whatever. So basically he presents us with a possible board wipe, a lot more control possibilities as well. And like I was saying earlier, it does stack with Normal Thavas grade 3, because his effect can still go off, so I select 3, retire 1, and this guy comes in and retires everything else essentially. So he's really nice. And then his second skill, probably his more important one, weigh at GB2, weigh 3rd time or more, Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, for every attack that's happened this turn, for every rearguard attack, this unit gains plus 5k, and your opponent cannot call grade 1s to guard. So basically you're guard restricting, and he gains a really big power. So you don't need Blizzard in here because this guy can hit for big numbers anyway. Blizzard does hit bigger but can be perfect guarded, and your opponent can't guard, and your bold wipe, and you can potentially wipe your opponent's field. So they're essentially giving your opponent no options to come back next turn. Granted, they can just take the attack instead of dropping their hand if they're on 4 or less, but if you get a crit when they're on 4, that's game over unless they get a heal miraculously. And on 5, it is essentially game over unless they have 3 G guards and something else or whatever. So he is really good. He brings an extra threat, a good finisher to the deck, just to help out Lambros a little bit, because we literally are relying on Lambros until this set, which was killing us, especially with the introduction of G-Gods. So yeah, he's really important, and he has Thavas in his name. He's generic, so you can use him Maelstrom, Blue Wave, any other Aqua Force deck you can think of, Ripple. And he sets off your support, so your Adelaides, your Melanias, yeah. So he basically just helps the deck be a lot more consistent as well now. And against Kagero and other control decks, you don't mind having your dudes retired or freeze ray locking with a couple of rear guards, so long as you can hit that wave 3. This guy's going to do something to your opponent that's going to make them either take damage or guard it and drop their hand, and they're still going to lose a couple of dudes as well. so it does present as a really good option against control decks. So long as we can hit that wave third that third battle now, doesn't matter how they do it. This deck's gonna be able to do something against them now. Presents us with outs, which is really good for this deck. The more outs we have, the better. So next we have our first Strider, Commander Thavas, or Storm Dominator Commander Thavas. He has become really good recently, especially as a first stride. I think I've only really I realised this probably just before after I picked up the deck. It took me about a month, I think, to realise that he was really good as a first stride, because you were mainly trying to go ride something or anything, any other stride that could, and then use him to get his GB3 scale. But you only really need his +5 and give 5k to a rearguard skill, which is basically what you do is when you stride him, you can persona flip, select a rearguard. Doesn't matter if you've just ridden, you can do it in your main phase. You can call dudes. You select a unit, and that unit gains +5k, and it can attack from the back row, which combos really well with Melania. And it can give power to Adelaides to make them 16k, which is nice. It can give power to Tidal Assault, 14-9 on a rearguard, or 14 then boost for 16 or something. So it helps you get combos off, and I can draw quite a lot of cards just with this guy as my first stride. So he sets me up defensively and then offensively as well for the prolonging turns. I run 2 in here because sometimes it is nice to then go into the second one, give the 5k again to Melania, get a couple more cards in hand to defend with if I need to. That, and he looks amazing in his new SP and artwork. So he is a really good card. His other skill is GB3, wave 4th time only. Oh, it's 4th time only. I didn't. Oh yeah, it's the same as Thavas. My bad, ignore me. When your unit attacks a vanguard, then you choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards. Again, you can select 2 if they've only got 2, or 1 if they've only got 1, but you must select 3 if they have 3 or more rear guards. Your opponent selects 1 of those units and it dies. So again, it presents us with a bit more control, a bit more retire. It just gets you a free neg again. It's kind of just like, it's the same with Thavas. It's a little extra on the side. It gives us the cherry on the cake essentially. So yeah, he is quite nice. I do like him a lot. And next, finally, should I say, we have 4 Marine General of the Heavenly Silk, Lambrouge. He's been the MVP of Aqua Force for I don't know how long now, since GB2 came out. He has been your finisher. He's been everything this clan has relied on so badly. With Wailing, that's pressure's taken off him a little bit, and he was hurt by G-Guards a lot. But he is still a very good stride, and he does rack up damage on the field, and he does do stuff for you. So basically what he does is, when this unit attacks, you select 2 of your units and restand them, and then if you have 2 face up in your 4th battle or more, so sorry, you select 2 of your units, restand them, and then if you have 2 or more units face up in your G zone, those units gain plus 10k. So if you've G-guarded, you can use them as a first stride, if your opponent strode first or whatever. So yeah, he can be quite early game as well, but he is very good as a mid game. Sort of after you've gone your Commander Thavas turn, you can then go Lambros, or you can even go Wailing Thavas. This dude will normally rack up the damage on the board, and then Wailing Thavas will finish the job. He's very aggressive as well, plus 10k to your rear guards. You can just play everything from your hand and just rush your opponent like mad, and they'll end up nearly having to drop all their hand, if not all of their hand, to survive sometimes. And his Falat looks amazing. I literally just got my 4. 2 more came through today. I'm a very happy boy. This deck is now maxed. It is the first deck I've ever been able to max out completely. My 4th Skyros is on the way in SP. However, I don't have that at the moment, but I probably would still only run the 3 anyway, because I need more options in my rear guards than I do on my vanguard options. So yeah, that is the deck. I'll quickly go over a couple of other options that you can use in your stride zone. You have things like Christos, which basically you counterblast 1, choose 2 units, they gain 2k each, and wave 3rd time or 4th. If it hits a vanguard, you unflip a damage. You draw a card. Sorry. It gives you a little bit more extra draw power. That's about it really. I find you're then relying on having to hit to really gain anything. It adds a little bit of pressure because your opponent doesn't allow you to hit. But I mean, why would I go into this when I can go Commander Thavas and get the Melania to draw cards for me anyway, with extra power and other stuff like that. And then I've got the Wailing Thavas. Why would I go into this when I can board wipe, guard restrict, and hit for big numbers? And Lambros again, I can attack for big numbers, multi-attack as well. So this is the problem. Again, same with Tidal Ball. He's basically an on-hit, retire one of your opponent's rear guards. Or is it? No, sorry. If it's the third battle of that turn or more, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to rear guard. Normally your opponents will guard it. Again, it's nice pressure. But again, why would I go this when I can go Commander Thavas, Lambros, Wailing Thavas? I have seen a few people play Christos and Aristotle, to be fair, one or the other. Aristotle is okay. Third battle, or when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay a cost of third time or more, sorry. CB1, when he attacks a Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So it gives you a little bit more selection. So if you want to get rid of a TikTok or a Melon or something, it's mainly to do with the Gear Chronicle matchup. This really, this is your guy to really do it. You can also play a Blizzard. Blizzard's quite nice still. I nearly did run him over a third Wailing Thavas. Just these Counterblast 1 and flip a guy in your G zone. So you could unflip your Seabreeze if you hadn't used him, which is quite nice. Gain 5k for everything face up, so you can get very big. I was running him because it was nice just to get that extra power, and like if you don't really have rear guards in this deck, if you do somehow don't have anything, the deck does kind of shut down, so you sometimes end up going into a Seabreeze vanilla. It's a very rare occasion. I don't think it really has ever happened to me actually. So yeah, it was quite nice just to go him and then gain some power, but I'd rather a Wailing Thavas if I can every time, and having 3 in there is just useful, especially against matchups like Kagero. And if I need to, I can go one after the other, just continuously. So that's the deck profile. I'm not quite sure what we're going to bring you next. It might be our Kagero deck profile, which will be a bit long time coming because there's no supports really come out for it. But stay tuned. I hope you enjoy the deck profiles. If you have any questions about any decks or any queries about why I don't run certain things, or why I run things over others, or why did I not conclude this, please let me know, and I will speak to you later, guys.